What's going on, my friend? It's Jeff Newport from chasingstrength.com. And in today's video, we are going to discuss the topic of chasing PRs. What are PRs? Personal records. And in fact, I'm going to make a bold statement here. Don't chase PRs. Instead, let them come to you. In this video, we're going to discuss exactly how you're going to do that. So let's get into it. One of the problems that those of us who are athletes at heart or competitive by nature face is that we turn many of the things we do, especially our workouts, into competitions. We harness our inner 18-year-old and work for PRs. As I said, PR is personal records or personal bests, if you prefer to call it that way, every single workout. Now, the problem with that approach is threefold. Okay. First, we're not as young as we were chronologically, so it's harder to train all out and still recover from it without waking up overly tired, borderline exhausted, stiff, sore, or eventually worse, injured. Okay. Number two is we're older in our training age. So it's really easy to get discouraged. And did I mention get injured too? Yep, that's right, I did. And as I was saying, it's really easy to get discouraged because the PRs don't come as fast as they did when we were younger, when we were in our teens and early 20s. So the key then is to let those PRs come to you. Kind of like the cat from across the street wanders up to my daughter. All right. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to use 5 strategies. Strategy number 1, we're going to play the long game. Okay. Look, you're going to see some gains, bruh. There's our air quotes in a few short 4-week cycles. Okay. Especially if your programs are designed correctly, but you may not see them from workout to workout. That's why we're focusing on short 4-week cycles. All right. We're going to stack these 4-week cycles one on top of the other. And that's because those real gains, air quotes, real gains, gains with a Z, right? It's gains, right? They're measured at our age in months and years. So for example, I just mentioned you're going to use those 4-week cycles. What you're going to do is really you're looking for an improvement every 4 weeks. Okay. That's a great way to start doing this. All right. So that's strategy number 1. Strategy number 2. This is something most of us do not like. Okay. It's to admit you have weak points and then train them so they're no longer weak, or at least not as weak as they were. All right. And that is a tough road to hoe because you know why? Because no one wants to admit that they're wrong. See? Gotcha, right? All right. So it's tough to admit that we even have weaknesses, or that if we do, we should address them first. One of the most productive 18-month periods of my life was when I stopped all barbell and kettlebell lifting and trained only bodyweight. And yeah, that sounds like heresy when I'm talking about kettlebell workouts, but it was what I needed to do for my body at the time. And what was really fascinating was after those 18 months, right, I was almost completely rejuvenated, especially after working on my incredibly weak anterior chain, right, which is the deep and superficial abdominal muscles, especially, okay, in my case. Strategy number 3 is we are going to use a concept called specialized variety when and where necessary. Now, if you haven't heard of specialized variety before, I'm not surprised, okay? It's a concept that was developed back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s by the Russian Soviet sports scientists, or I should say Soviet sports scientists, because that's what they were back then, right? Nobody likes Russia these days. So it was the Soviet Union. Shock of all shocks, nobody liked the Soviet Union back then either. But that's neither here nor there. So, but they developed this concept called specialized variety. And what's really important is they applied this concept, right, with their weightlifting teams. Okay. And that's super important because the Soviets weightlifting teams, the USSR weightlifting team, ruled the world back in the late 60s, 70s, and 80s. Okay. It's also important because these guys, they measured everything they did, everything. They had a notebook and a journal and everything. They didn't wait for peer-reviewed, double-blind research studies. They did everything in the trenches, and then they tested it out on another group and another group and another group, and they collected all the data. All right. So they used specialized variety. And as what's that guy's name? The motivational guru, Tony Robbins, right? As he says, success leaves clues. So these coaches' empirical data, right, told them that weightlifters made the best and fastest progress when they used special, similar yet different exercises in their training programs. Okay, so think about this. Let me give you a couple examples here. Instead of just doing cleans, right? So I'm not talking about kettlebell cleans. I'm talking about barbell cleans. and trying to make the clean go up by pushing only the clean, okay, they would do exercises that were similar, all right? Specialized variety. Exercises like power cleans from blocks, okay? Power cleans from above the knee, power cleans from standing on a block, power cleans with straight legs, good mornings, front squats, and so on and so forth, okay? I think you get the idea. Now, a modern day non-Olympic lifting example that you can apply immediately today to your kettlebell training. Well, this is kind of crazy, but I can tell you that after over a decade of playing with this, that there's a simple body weight stability exercise called a dead bug, which is for the deep abdominal musculature. And that is specialized variety for almost every single person's Turkish getup. Okay. Over the last decade plus, probably since 2010, right, I have seen people not train their Turkish get-ups, train only dead bugs, and watch their Turkish get-up increase, again, without training it. Okay. So there's an example of specialized variety. All right. Strategy number 4, vary your focus and effort of your training and workouts. Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, similar to specialized variety, the human organism, our bodies, they crave variety, right? So there needs to be some variation in your training plan, right? Or your workout program. So yeah, you could force yourself to stick to the same plan with identical exercises day in and day out, like some kind of Iron Monk. And, there are plenty of people who are successful in doing that, right? But I want you to notice how few monks there really are, and how most of them need some kind of financial support from the outside world. Now, look, don't email me for monk bashing, okay? I'm simply making a point here, all right? So a form of variety is moving from simple to complex. So an example in the kettlebell world would be a 2-hand swing, moving to a 1-hand swing, moving to a clean, moving to a clean and press, moving to a clean and push press, and then finally moving to a kettlebell snatch. Okay, so our final and 5th strategy is very simple and very hard to do for many people. Okay, and it's refer out. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, one of my closest friends can fix anything. I mean, he's that kind of guy. It doesn't matter what you give him, he'll figure out a way to fix it. And he once built a motorcycle from scratch by buying spare parts from Craigslist. He also recently started building custom metal railings and staircases for new homes. But you know what? He uses my kettlebell programs. Why? Because he doesn't have time or energy to design his own. I'll pop up a little screenshot of a text message I got from him the other day. And you know what? And that's why other guys like Daniel use my programs. And it's what Daniel, who you saw in the last video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up a little screen share here. Hold on one second. So as you can see, here's some results from a program that Daniel used. It's called Kettlebell WOD, workout of the day, to 10x his clean and press in the space of 1 year. All right. If you want to know more about it, go watch the last video that I put up for you, where we cover his results here. Now, I'm pretty sure once you start using the same program, and I'm going to put a link in the description for you below, that you'll see similar results, right? Results like 𝐩𝐫𝐿, who's a 40-year-old dad of 3 who works odd shifts in his law enforcement, okay? And he passed his 5 minutes SFG snatch test, 100 reps in 5 minutes using a 24 kilo for the first time ever. Or like David, who at 42 was using this program and said, it's the best I've ever felt, and that he'd burned off that dad layer in the belly and that his core is stronger than it's ever been. Or Marco, who took his 2-hand swing from 104 reps to 250 reps in his test days. Test days? What are you talking about, test days? Yeah, it's one of the strategies that I didn't mention, but it's a way to measure your progress, right? Is to set up test days so you can actually measure your PRs. And with Kettlebell WOD, you can actually test yourself and will test yourself on regularly scheduled test days each month. So just set your baseline, show up, do the work, and watch those new PRs stroll your way, just like the neighbor's cat from across the street. All right. Hope you found this video helpful. If you did, click the like button, leave me a comment, click subscribe if you haven't already, share it with a friend. Until next time, stay strong.